Welcome to another episode of the Business of Coaching Workshop by Turnkey Coach. I'm thrilled today to have our guest, Bruce Knox, the founder and head coach of Knox Power Company in Silver Spring, Maryland. Bruce is not just a world champion powerlifter with multiple records. He's a trailblazer in the fitness industry who's turned a pandemic-era layoff into a thriving family-owned business. Along with his wife, Emily, he's built Knox Power Company on principles of grit, community, and real results. Today, Bruce and his son Bruce will share their inspiring journey and dive into how he's building a hybrid coaching model that seamlessly blends the hands-on energy of in-person training with the scalability of online sessions using Turnkey Coach. Bruce, thank you for joining us. Let's get started.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
So take us back to your early days in powerlifting and kind of share your story for what sparked your passion for the sport and how that evolved into a career of coaching others.
Well, let's go back. So I've been a trainer since 2008. And in 2008, I was senior year at University of Maryland for my kinesiology degree. And I started working as a trainer at Rock Creek Sports Club. And I was doing, general population stuff. I was mainly just kind of, my lifting wasn't powerlifting. And then probably not until 2011, 2012, I decided to get into powerlifting. And I was in powerlifting probably for 2 years, and then I hurt my knee and I couldn't squat, I couldn't deadlift. And then I found strict curl through a friend of mine, and he knew a guy at the time, Tim Henriquez, who was probably the best strict curler at the time. Got into strict curl, and I was pretty good at it. And then I was eventually able to get back to powerlifting. So I've been powerlifting for over a decade and strict curling for over a decade. But strict curl has been bigger for me in terms of records. I think I've broken a world record probably 8 to 10 times. Currently 198 and 220 open world record holder for 100% raw. And it's sparked my wanting to do online coaching more than anything else, because there's nobody really out there helping curlers, especially the way that I'm doing it. I kind of was an innovator in the sport and created my own kind of technique. Instead of just a regular lever curl, it's more of a Olympic style lifting. So I've gotten a lot of success using that, and being able to just get out there and just teach people that kind of method.
That might be the most niche of niches I've heard of. Most people think of powerlifting as a niche, but curls within powerlifting is even more so.
It's super, but it's also like exploring social media and now being on online coaching. It's a lot bigger than I thought. Like when you're within it, you think it's big, but from the outside looking in, it's super, super small. It's a speck. But when you look worldwide, it's super, super popular all over the world. And there's like these little sectors in Japan and, Ukraine and now like New Zealand and like all over the place. And you bring it all together and it's pretty big.
So that kind of lays the groundwork for getting into lifting. Take us back to 2020 and the origin story of Knox Powerlifting Company.
So
how did that all come about?
Like 2020, May 2020, I think they shut the gyms down here, or maybe all over the country. So at the time, my house, we had a detached garage and I had my own home gym. So gym shut down. And that night I just called my clients and said, we're just going to keep rolling at my house, because I need to make money. You guys need to work out, and at the time I had an agreement with the gym. I wanted them to keep going too. So it's like, we're going to keep the same payment set up. You guys will get your kick. I'll get mine, because I don't want them to go under. Right. So everybody came to me for maybe a month or so. And then gyms reopened, but my client base, they didn't want to go back to the gym because they were still scared, of COVID, right? So I was like, all right, we'll
Mm.
keep the same arrangement here in my garage. And then one day, the gym I worked at decided to fire me. We won't go into detail about that, but so they fired me in July, and I think later that week I signed a lease for a warehouse spot down the street from me. In August, threw everything in there, moved in, and this is where it gets really crazy. A week later, I got a letter from the county saying I was in violation of zoning. And I talked to the landlord. Landlord immediately kicked me out. So right after we moved in,
Okay.
I got kicked out of this place. And at first I almost threw up when I heard that, right? Because all the
Mm.
work I
Yeah.
put into it, you know.
Moving into a
Um,
gym is brutal.
yeah, and obviously, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing really running a
Mm.
business. I just try
Hmm.
to just try to figure it out. But anyway, so we tried to find a place. We had a month to get out, so we tried to find a place. Couldn't find a place. Couldn't find a place. And it wasn't until I just said, screw it, whatever happens is when we found a place. And
Mm.
literally the very last day of August, we found a spot, signed a lease, and this is where we've been for its 5-year anniversary in
Amazing.
September. Yeah.
It's amazing that the second you let go, it
Yeah,
just
it
happens.
exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was like, if I have to move back to my garage, I'll do it. And then we found this place.
So now it comes across pretty clear to me that the culture you've built is very intentional. How did your experiences leading up to that shape the values and the culture of KPC?
The culture here is it's kind of funny. So like when I first started, it was just me. It was literally just me in here in this. Sorry, I got to keep looking back, see where my son is.
It's okay.
Just training people alone. And then I got my wife to come on board. She was a trainer at the gym I was working at. She came on board, and then another old coworker of mine. Uh, I encouraged her to come here and open her own Pilates studio in the back, maybe like 400 square foot area Pilates studio. She did that. I'm not sure what year she did that. And then another old coworker, he decided he wanted to come here. And then we have one more person working here, Alexis. I was training her for strict curl. She got into strict curl through me, and she quickly became the strongest female strict curler, which now had been broken by a couple pounds. But she curled, I think, 123 at
Wow.
160 pounds. Yeah, it was the heaviest curl of all time. Um, and then, like that kind of went. And then we had our first child, which we brought her to the gym every single day. And that really created more of like a family community here. And I feel like a lot of our clients come just to see our children. Even, they'll just sit on the ground and play with them. Um, and then I became chairman of 100% Raw Powerlifting for Maryland, and that was another step. I started running competitions here, and it just brought more people into here, and everybody helping out and whatnot. And now, baby Bruce was born, and that created more of a family kind of oriented gym.
That's awesome. I imagine that really helps kind of bridge the gap from your credentials, which are extremely impressive, but I would imagine kind of intimidating for the average person getting started. But you're able to. I mean, do you find that helps you translate
You
the
know,
gym to general population?
I was talking about credentials to somebody the other day, and there's only one person ever in my 17 years that like sought me out because I had a CSCS.
Hmm.
One person. So like I feel like in the world of training, credentials don't really matter unless
Mm.
they matter. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like
Hmm.
most people, they go somewhere and they assume somebody's good, right? Which isn't the
Mm.
right attitude. Like when somebody looks for a trainer, they need to ask questions too. And I've never really had anybody ask me any questions about anything. I don't know, maybe they've read stuff, but no, I don't think credentials intimidates anyone really.
Mm. So you've got a gym going now. walk me through what prompted you to expand from the in-person side to a hybrid model.
Well, time. I mean, um, being a personal trainer, working 45 hours a week, for the last whatever 17 years, it's
45,
time.
those are client hours, 45
Yeah,
hours a week. That
45
is
client
a
hours a
lot.
week. And in the beginning of being a personal trainer, it was kind of like I sort of had a chip on my shoulder, I'd
Mm,
say, because a lot of like family members and people they looked at this as not a profession.
mm,
It's like kind of playtime,
mm,
right? So it's just like it's what I wanted to do. It's what I like to do. So that's kind of like what fueled that. Work more, and in this business, you only can make so much money, and in order to make more, is you got to bust your butt and work more and more. And I got to a point where I felt like my yearly salary was, I don't know, I guess respectable, and it kind of was like I told you so type thing.
mm.
So that's why I was working so much. And then like as in my 20s and being single, it's fine, whatever. I can work till 8 o'clock at night. I can get up the next day at 4. You know what I mean? I can lift
Yep.
in the middle of the day. There's no responsibility. But now I'm, like I told you earlier, I'm 40 now, and I have 2 kids, 2 small kids, one that's 3, one that's just turned 1. And, I don't have as much energy, I don't think. And it's difficult to juggle all these things. I can't work till 8 o'clock. I like to be at home and have dinner with my family every night, which I have been doing. We do that. I mean, that's a big thing for us. I like to be home and we eat breakfast together, a late breakfast together every single day. So like the goal is to continue to ease off the in person, which it's difficult for me to do because when I see an opening in my schedule, I got to fill it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's the hardest thing for me to do. So I will say, since I've started online, I've kind of made it a point not to take any more new in person people. And if they want to train with me, they have to be online. And I've done a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, your online roster has gone from nothing to you're at 20 clients now?
Yeah, I think like 19.
19.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you share a specific aha moment? Was there one where you realized online coaching could work and that could complement your in-person sessions without losing the personal
Well,
connection?
the person that helped me out was John Flagg.
Hmm.
I reached out to him and like picked his brain a little bit, and he helped me. He did some we did some kind of like mentoring things for a couple months, and he helped me like kind of stoke up my social media and like figure out. I had my avenue. My avenue was Strict Girl for online coaching, and that's what I started with. But then I was like, it hit me. Where can I go with this? How can I kind of like scale down in person stuff? And I just came up with some hybrid programs for people. And basically, it's like one in person and 2 online coaching sessions or online coaching things per week. And apparently, from what I understand from you guys, a lot of people do the hybrid, but the online, they don't do reviews, they just do programming. So I figured, I mean, that didn't even cross my mind. It was, you know, you're going to get basically, it's not as in depth as it in person, right?
Right.
Maybe for some people, but you're going to get pretty much, the closest you can get, with me doing your reviews with your hybrid online programming part.
So you do one in-person and then 2 video reviews per week
Yeah, and then
for.
like, I this, you can make up anything you want. Like I have one guy who does 2 in person and 1 online,
Yep.
but for the most part, most people are 1 and 2, and it was good because it enabled me to help more people. And actually, the same day that like I came up with the program, the hybrid program, the first person I talked to, he was going to talk to me that day about how he felt kind of lost in the gym and he needed help. And in the past, like, all trainers have done this probably, is like, oh, somebody needs something to do, you write them something, right? And you do it for free for the most part, right? and then you give it to them, and then you say, hey, how'd it go? And they didn't do it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, and then it builds, and like you sort of feel like you're getting taken advantage of, and then you're disappointed they don't do it, and it's just like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Right.
So it's like this is a lot better, right? Obviously, because they have to pay for it, so they're probably going to do it, so they have accountability. So
Mm-hmm.
it's worked out very well for most people.
One of the common questions we get, or points of friction that come up when we're talking to coaches that start out working with people in person, is how to make the transition from the 100% in person, either one-on-one or group training, to occasionally not having in person, or sometimes even 100% online for some clients. Have you found a way to navigate that conversation that works for your clients and makes sense to them, or is able
So
to articulate the value to their side of the equation as well?
so I'm a terrible salesman, always have been. Right. I'm not pushy, I'm a kind of like, take it or leave it kind of guy,
Mm,
whatever. So what I did with the hybrid, I just floated the idea. I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you want to do it, you can give it a try. If not, whatever.
mm,
I've never been a hard salesman,
mm-hmm.
and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. It's probably a bad thing early in my career. It probably took a little longer to fill my roster, but a lot of my clients, I've had clients with me for my entire 17 years of training, multiple clients.
Wow.
So, I mean, some of those people, and it's interesting, a lot of like a couple of the older people, which you would think wouldn't want to do this kind of thing. Like I'm talking 70 years old. They've been the best at it.
Wow.
They're on point. They're putting up videos. You know what I mean? It's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple younger people who aren't putting up videos for me to
Hmm.
review and things like that. Maybe it's laziness. Who knows? I don't know. But it's been
Interesting.
interesting.
What prompted you to choose Turnkey Coach? I mean, I know you mentioned John Flagg, who we've had on the show as
Dude,
well.
I looked at so many platforms and it's just so much stuff on one screen and so much stuff that I don't need and I don't even want to look at. And then, yeah, so John Flagg was like, I asked him what he uses. And I think I saw one of his Instagram posts. He was at one of your booths or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I downloaded Turnkey Coach, and I didn't even look at any of the tutorials, and I just went through it and figured it out in 15 minutes. It was simple, easy to use.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's music to my ears. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
I mean,
funny, as a product developer, I often look at competition, and I almost or I worry that we don't have enough bells and whistles, or that we don't have enough features. But it
no.
is interesting how often I hear that the simplicity is actually a huge selling point for a
Well,
lot of
I'm
people.
sure I'm sure a lot of people do like bells and whistles and all kinds of
Hmm.
stuff. But I'm a guy. I mean, I still write my workouts in a notebook.
Mm.
So I'm that guy
Hmm.
going from that my entire life to, online stuff. And it's been perfect.
With something like Strict Curl, I'm curious if the video feedback. I mean, if you started your hybrid coaching with that being built in from the beginning, is that something that you find useful to be able to provide technical feedback or movement
Oh,
coaching?
yeah. Yeah, big time. I mean,
Hmm.
especially the way I coach strict curl. I mean,
Hmm.
I coach some people who are still lever curls. It's interesting. I have one guy that I would do. I don't know. We started this 4 years ago, maybe, and he would send me his strict curl videos through just like text message, and then I would feedback, type it back, like
Hmm.
I'd email him feedback. And I was like, we did it for like a time, and I'm like, there's no way like this is working for him, and he's getting anything out of it. But it worked for him, and it was crazy. But doing this, it's a million times better, and it's some aspects of the video review are better than in person,
Hmm.
because you can, pause things, you can slow things down, whatever, you can point things out. So things like that just make it a little bit better than in person.
So as you are growing the online side or the hybrid side, and it sounds like you're starting to reduce in-person hours. Is that kind of the strategy, is to make your in-person time gradually harder to pin down with you,
That's the
or higher
goal.
price, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could go that way. I mean, it could
Yeah.
definitely go that way, and that could thin things out. But that's the goal. I kind of put like maybe a 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 year plan when I first started, to be 100% online. But I think it's going pretty good.
Mm,
There's one aspect about being online that I don't like, and it's the feeling of you can never get away from it.
mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, and that's something I've never experienced before because I've never had any type of online job or anything like that.
Right.
And it's I had a few vacations over the summer, and one of them, I did my reviews on vacation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's cool that I can do that, but it's also,
Yep.
it's a brain shift that I have to get out of vacation mode and get back into work mode. And
Mm-hmm.
this last week I was on vacation, and I was like, I told everybody, I'm doing I have your program up, no reviews at all this week. And, it's kind of a little bumpy doing that, I think, for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's what's needed. You have to do it
Yep.
in order to enjoy, the whole online thing. Okay, bud. Smash his little thingy.
Yeah. On that note, we actually do have a couple of features coming out um, that hopefully will help draw some boundaries there. We're going to be implementing some holiday features that allow you to actually make it so that no reviews come into your queue, and then also establish working days. So if you want to only have reviews on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever one day a week, you can have them accumulate there. Because I absolutely agree with you and have experienced that as well, that you just kind of feel like you're on 24/7,
Yeah,
and new
yeah, for sure.
workouts are constantly piling up. Every time you open up the app, there's
Right.
something there waiting for you. So definitely hear that, and I'm excited to get those features out here pretty soon.
And then, like I'm still new at this. I've been doing this for I don't even know what 6 months or something, 7 months maybe.
Hmm.
And like I said, I didn't read the tutorials, and I'm the kind of guy that just I hit the ground running and figure it out.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
like last week was my figuring that out. So,
nice.
moving forward, I mean, that's what I'll be doing.
For coaches listening who are trying to do the same thing you are there any pitfalls that you've experienced? In addition to maybe the boundary setting side of it.
Um, I think like not for me personally, but I think the hardest thing is deciding what you're going to price it.
Mm,
You know, and when I was deciding, I didn't really look at anybody else's pricing.
hmm.
I kind of just went off what it was worth to me, and my skill,
Hmm.
and obviously not price it so high it'd be ridiculous,
Right.
and after like looking around at other people, it's like, it's priced pretty well for me, I think, and I think it's pretty affordable. But I think the biggest thing that people do is they price so low, right? And that's because they're new and they
Hmm.
want to get more people. But if you price it so low, it's kind of difficult to make those jumps,
Hmm.
and you start chasing people off. Um, and I had a conversation with this one trainer about in-person pricing like that, and
Hmm.
not valuing your time and your skill, and just pricing it too low. And you have to understand, you're providing the service that people want, people need, so you got to make it worthwhile for both parties.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the second most common question we get after how do I get more clients is how much should I charge? And
Yeah.
it's a tricky one to answer because there are so many variables there. But it seems pretty consistent depending on your experience and your visibility in different markets, whether it's your local market or social media. People are kind of anywhere from 150 up to $500-600 a month, and it's just this wide window that really
Yeah.
depends on a lot of factors. But agree that going too low it ends up not being good for either party.
Oh yeah,
Interestingly,
you shoot yourself in the foot.
yeah. And like you said, take it to the extreme. When you give people stuff for free, then there's no accountability or skin in
Yep.
the game. So having a price point that's high enough that it means something to them, they actually do the work, get the results, and self-fulfilling there.
Yep.
Has there been anything that you found that helps you maintain, or how do you maintain the human touch when you're doing online sessions, so that clients feel supported?
Um, I mean, I'm pretty like well in contact with a lot of people,
Mm,
like just through text in general.
mm,
And then, obviously the screen share video reviews,
mm,
just talking to them,
mm-hmm.
and just like talking to them like I'm actually like kind of there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I think an important thing, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's been an interesting evolution. When we started doing online coaching at Barbell Logic 10 years ago, it was all text feedback, and there was this tendency to feel like you had to say something about the exercise or the lift, either a
Oh yeah,
cue or some sort of correction, which actually drove clients kind of crazy when the only thing they heard back from you was the thing they were doing wrong.
sure.
And as we've been doing more and more video reviews over the last 5 years, the percentage of time that I spend actually giving any kind of correction is like approaches zero.
Yeah,
Obviously we try to give corrections and give cues, but so much more time is just spent interacting, and they feel like they're having a conversation with you.
right.
On top of, obviously we're still giving them movement coaching and watching bar speed and things like that. But it is really interesting how much people value just having the conversation with you as their coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The video's definitely been great.
So what's next for you and Knox Powerlifting Company?
Oh, what's next? I don't know. I really want to try to increase the trajectory of strict curl. Uh, we'll see. The kind of up in the air on that. Try to make it more of a maybe professional level sport. Um, but we'll see how that goes. And like we talked about, try to go online 100%. And we have our kind of window. I would like to get my wife some more online stuff going. And then like you touched on earlier, like getting new clients, like that's definitely the trickiest thing, and having to pump up your social media,
Mm,
and for me, like it's kind of a little easier for me because like we talked about, like, my very small like niche area. So, and there's not many coaches in this area. So it's like kind of all the fingers point to me in a way,
mm.
if you want to coach. Um, so yeah, so just kind of just do that, just keep plugging along, and see if I can free up some more time for these kids and other things like that.
Awesome. Well, if people want to find you or work with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
I think Instagram is the best way. Knox Power Company. You can just send me a message, or you can check out kpcstrong.com. My phone number's on there. Give me a call, text, or email.
Awesome. Well, I know you got to get to your deadlifts.
And
So
try it. We'll see what I can do. So.
we'll wrap things up. I haven't seen any questions come in. Dan, anything you're seeing on your end?
No questions right now.
Answered them all, Bruce. Crushed it.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining the call, and thanks everybody who joined in live for another episode of the Business of Coaching Workshop. If you are interested in learning more about Turnkey Coach or how you might want to build a hybrid online coaching model, you can schedule a free discovery call at turnkey.coach/BOCCALL. That's turnkey.coach BOC call.
All right. Thanks for having me.